that in today's talk. So if you want to prepare that for 1 or 2 minutes, and then when your teacher comes, we'll begin. So I'll leave that for you to think about. Yeah. And I'll give your teacher 2 more minutes, and then I'm starting, okay? Sorry. Yeah.
Can you attach this or not for me, please?
Attach which?
This one.
Yes.
Just put it like right there.
Like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
You're doing the Vivo thing, eh? Yeah, that's what she does.
Are there gonna be more students coming?
From our class, there is Nongfa and Pijet for 2, but I'm not sure if Nongfa is coming. But Pijet will be here.
Oh,
But
okay.
he's coming.
He is coming soon. Okay.
Is it better to wait a little bit or?
Yeah. I think we can wait a little bit.
Wait a little bit? Yeah? Yeah, the longer we wait, the faster I talk to get through the material. Okay, Amanda, your name is very easy. Shalida, is that your real name? And then Om is your nickname? What does that mean? Terry. Terry. Om. Gotcha. Good morning, teacher. Yes. Good morning, teacher. Good morning.
You see, like everyone knows each other, except me, actually.
Really?
You have met each other, right?
Okay.
So it's gonna be very informal. So
No
first of
problem.
all, I'd like to thank Professor. How should I address?
Brad, just call me
Okay,
Brad.
I thank Dr.Brad. Thanks
Yeah,
very much
thank you.
for being here, joining us, and giving a talk, on a very important issue, which is, required by students to be able to achieve. They all then have to publish at least 2 papers
Yes.
that are, part of their dissertation. So that is a very challenging part of task for them. So today will be very valuable for them to prepare for that process. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Okay, so does this mean the PhD students are here and the teachers are here? Is that correct?
No.
We are teachers.
Oh, you're.
By the way.
You're students as well. Yes. Okay. So let's see here. We have. How is it possible to move some people around? Would that be okay before we start? Because if you're a little closer, that would be better for me.
Do they have like the? We have the socket here.
You want me to move back?
Would you be
Yeah,
okay there?
sure.
And
I feel
Con and
comfortable being there.
Dong Dong?
Mi cardอยู่. We have over there
We have a
too.
charger there. Would that be okay? Because if you're over here, that'll be easier for activities, yeah? So are you okay? To move right over here, both of you, and your charger can connect over here. So we'll just get everything set up first.
I thought you were ready to.
We did, but we have to arrange the people now. First you arrange the desks, and then you arrange the people. Can you help them, Lieutenant, just to maybe shift over? And is that, I mean, both of you, is that
mentioned is that, what Brad mentioned is that you probably have to work here from time to time to discuss with them.
That might be a little tricky, yeah?
If you want to start, you can do that. But if the activity is not,
Is that okay? Yeah, okay. Or you can talk from a distance, yeah. Okay. Okay, so we're going to get started. And first of all, thank you very much, everybody, for being here this morning, for waking up on a weekend and coming in. I hope you had your coffee. I hope you had your breakfast. And I hope you're ready to do some exciting activities today. And today, as you can see up here, our talk is about from research to international publication. And this is a talk basically about insights and lessons from my own publication journey. And today, I'm going to be talking about my own journey, but this is not a recipe for perfectly getting published, okay? Because there's really no perfect way to publish. Ajar and Fawn mentioned to you that you have to publish 2 papers, correct? In my PhD program, we had to publish 3 papers. 2 papers had to be refereed, so they had to be reviewed by peer reviewers, and 1 could be like in a university, like Bulletin or something like that. So that was the easy one, because they accept almost anything. But the 2 ones that were hard were the refereed ones, right? So today we're going to be talking about these kind of situations. And as I usually say at the beginning of a presentation, when I start talking about things like this, it's very exciting, right? I think research is really, really exciting. And I think it's very exciting to talk with you because you're on your journey for making your PhD. And as I always like to say, if I speak too quickly, do you remember what to do? You should scratch your head, okay? I'm a native speaker of English. And sometimes I forget that audiences are not native always, right? So if I'm speaking too fast, please scratch your head. If you have a question anytime, please put up your hand, right? If you're sleepy, right, please start waving both of your hands, okay? Do anything you need to do to get the most out of today. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Brad, and here is where I am living right now. I'm living in Nagoya, in Japan. And you can see that Nagoya is in the center of Japan, between Osaka and between Tokyo. Most people that travel to Japan, they go to either Tokyo or Osaka or Kyoto, but very few people go to Nagoya, right? Because Nagoya is not a great sightseeing place, but it's a very nice place. Toyota cars, right? They have a plant there. So most people, or a lot of people, they actually work for Toyota in this region. So the economy is actually very good, right? And my university is here. This is Nanzan University. And when I came to KKU for the first time, we took a bus from one end of KKU to the other. And I kept thinking, when is this going to end? This is a huge university, giant university. Because my university, here is like the front gate, and you go straight through, basically from this building, approximately to the KKU-LI building. That's my university. Very, very small compared to here. So it's interesting. It's also a private university, right? We have a private university. And Nanzan University also has a connection with KKU because we bring students for study abroad programs, and we also do online learning together with KKU. And we've had a 25-year relationship, so it's been a long time actually. All right. So another thing I like to do is begin with you, all right? And I am going to ask you to introduce yourself, your name, and your research interest or your thesis topic. Also, something interesting about you, and one question, this is very important, what's one question you want to know about the research or academic publishing journey, all right? So I'm going to give you an example, and then Montana is going to share her example, and then I'll pass the mic, or maybe Amanda can use a big voice to tell me, because I don't know if this will stretch all the way around the room, right? So, again, my name is Brad. My research interest or area is intercultural competence, the ability to develop your ability to communicate with people from other cultures. Come on in. And something interesting about me is I love traveling, right? So I've traveled to many, many countries around the world because I also like to work on my intercultural competence. And one question that I want to know about research and academic publishing is, how is it possible to publish in a Q1 top-level journal? That's a good question, and we'll look at these ideas today.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Mantana Thiupaingam, or you can call me Poo in short. So my nickname means crab in English, okay? And my research interest is in second language acquisition and AI. So I am interested in how to use AI to like combine with the teaching stuff. And something interesting about me, maybe I'm the person who loves animals a lot. Like any kinds of animals, yeah, I can play with them. And also, I love playing music. I can play electronic organ and keyboard as well. And I love singing. And one question I want to know about the research publishing, maybe like how would you do to be able to get it published, or my research published on the like international journals? Yeah, that's what I concerned about it.
Okay, great.
Thank you, and
good morning, everyone. Here we can say this is my English name, so I think, yeah, so I think maybe a professor is easier to pronounce. Right now, I am the second year PhD student, and I'm interested in the thesis topic is second language teaching related with intercultural competence. This is, right now I'm very interested in it, but I'm still searching for the detailed direction. And I right now in the very surface part, so I want to explore more about this. And my primary interest, I'm interested in playing badminton, but right now in Kangen, I like swimming. I like swimming very much. And right now I swim twice a week because the weather here is very fine. For publish, I don't have so much experience, so I want to learn from today's lecture about how to find the right direction, a topic, and how to scale anything about it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, good morning again. So may I introduce myself? My name's Shalida, or you can call me this is my nickname. So I'm interested in the thesis topics about the second language acquisition and also the English teaching language, ELT, but not in specific just right now, but because I'm just finding what interesting topic that suits me. And also something that interesting about me, I like reading, but it's not like, sorry, it's like not like the academic textbook, like reading fictions or novels or watching some clips, or especially for movie. And one question that I want to know about today, how to get published. I mean, except for the scope, but maybe Q1 or to Q2. But if we get the rejection, and how can we revise it and maybe get another publications? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Krab. My name is Palithe Khotkam from Ubon Ratchathani. Jeff in short. I am an English teacher, and I've been around with linguistics, translation and syntax, and I've been much into like errors. second language errors. I've been around to help correct these errors and with grammar. That is those are probably my interests. And something interesting about me, I'm also into music and English lyrics. Yeah, if you give me a theme and better with melody, I can write lyrics too. All right, and well, here in KKU for 2 years, I have been given too many chances to review papers, and it seems to me, like last night, I read two articles for Ajah's assignment, and I think the literature review for that part, I will spend the whole semester for that, you know, and I really want to know how these people can do, and is there any shortcut to, you know, to being successful in writing this up for the international publication. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well done. Yeah, sure.
Good morning, Dr.Brad.
Good morning. And everybody too, right? Everybody's listening here too, yeah.
ขอบคุณค่ะ And my name, I would like to improve language ability. I am pinpointing reading skills for now because I'm reviewing the literature. But I think I have like multiple interests in terms of research, assessment, CDA, I mean critical discourse analysis, teaching. I also am interested in teaching. And then something that I think is interesting about me. Let's see. Myself. I think what I was thinking of saying is that I am interested in political science and political psychology, and I'm reading a few books about those concepts, and and I watch anime. What else? Yeah, I think that's two things, and I first have 3 questions to ask you. But
So
Frank,
just give me one, because
okay.
we want to do this in 30 seconds, and
Oh,
now it's
right,
taking
right.
3 minutes each, okay? And
Right.
this is one of the hardest things if you're a teacher, is speaking succinctly and shortly. And that's also part of writing. So I just want really short, really simple, and during lunch we can talk a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Short and simple, yeah.
Thank you.
One question.
Because I have been through a lot of useful talk about this, but I think maybe when should I stop waiting for their answers? When should I withdraw?
Yeah, that's good. And by the way, if you have more questions during today, right, we can look at those as well. As you listen to the questions that each of you have, you might notice if it's similar or different to you. So yeah, this is great. Let's continue, and just again, really, really short and simple for now, and then we'll start getting into deeper stuff pretty soon. Yeah, thanks, Dave. Thank you. Yeah. All right.
Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Pan Kamun Susi, but you can call me Pan or Kon Thai Pan Si. Okay? Okay, my research interest is about multimodal critical discourse analysis. And okay, because of my career, maybe language teaching too. And also, for the interesting, I am interested in drawing cartoons and reading cartoons, and also watch animes and many things that non-academical. I love drawing, and I also printing my books, something like that. And the one question that I want to ask is, if one of reviewers decline my information, but still send me the comments. Should I gather it? Should I revise according to him, or just leave him? So that is. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's an important question, like all of them. We will be answering that for sure today. Okay, who's going to go next? Come. You're going to run out of the room here. You might need to pull it out. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's not working. It's working. It's working now. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dong Dong, and my thesis topic is about teaching Chinese as second language in China to the foreign students, and I want to focus on reading. What I want to know about research publication is I want to know how to convert our thesis into the public article, especially to like SSCI like that, because in Chinese standard system, Chinese academic more emphasize they more emphasize about SSCI, but not scopers. So it is a hard things for us like that. And my interesting thing is I love cats so much, but I don't have a cat. So that is my dream. And I'm interested in tasting delicious food. That's all. Thank you.
Very much.
Hello, my name is Saturuni Marunra. My nickname is Ton. First of all, I would like to tell you that I have interest and published in MA in the field of critical discourse analysis, attitude analysis, and it's going to be about analyzing people attitude in interviews, news headlines, something like that. But in PhD, I changed the field to vocabulary learning, AI and ERT. So it's like I have experience in two fields. And about myself, I think I have very interesting like self-learned studying story because I have no parents. I fund my own education. My grandparents are illiterate. My background is actually in lower middle class family. I attend public school throughout my life. I've never experienced education from bilingual school or international school. And you can see my English proficiency. This is self-taught. And I've never been abroad. I'm a full-time lecturer here at KKU, teaching English. Aside from that, I'm also a writer, developer, creative advertiser, tutor, translator, interpreter, and several institutions for several institutions and corporations. I would like.
This is all wonderful.
The only question that matters is that I would like to ask you about the time window of being rejected from publication, and realistically, how long do we need to wait until we can send another manuscript to another publication? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Fawn, and I'm in my first year of my PhD journey, so I'm still figuring out what to do with my life. But what I proposed when I got accepted here was about professional development, as well as that is related to teachers' acceptance of technology in language teaching. But yeah, right now I'm still at a state of exploring new things. So maybe in the future my topic will change. And something interesting about me, I'm a huge fan of K-series or Korean series. So I know almost every actor and actress. Yeah. And one question I want to ask you, okay, rejection is unavoidable, right? So I would like to ask you we feel sad, right? We kind of feel sad when we get rejected. So I would like to ask you, what can we do to like mentally prepare for the rejection? So this is my question. Thank you.
You want me to share? Yeah. It's not only okay. I can shout. Okay, so hi, my name is Anna again, and my research interests include corpus linguistics, discourse analysis, in particular genre analysis and second language pedagogy. Something interesting about me, I teach quantitative research and statistics, and I love statistics. Well, about the question, I'm not sure whether it is a question or a complaint. Well, I have a lot of research ideas, but I do not have enough time to do research. I hope I will have more time to do my own studies in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Well done, everyone. Thank you. Grab this from here. Yeah, I usually skip the teachers because they sometimes don't want to talk in front of the group. Anyway, so this is actually quite interesting, and your answers actually told us quite a lot about the publishing journey. One challenge I think that we all have is not having something to say, but having a lot to say. So if you notice quickly, I said 30 or 40-second interviews, right? Or talks, but it actually took a lot longer than that. And that's one of the challenges that we have as writers, is actually to narrow down what we say. Because the dissertation is very wide, it's very broad, but if you want to publish, you have to have a simple story. You have to narrow it down, keep it short, and keep it simple. So in English, we say KISS, right? And KISS again means keep it short and simple. And that's one of the keys to all of us when we are writing. So today, I'm going to be sharing with you this outline. First, I'll talk a little bit about my publication journey, and this is to do with my PhD, what I did from the beginning until the end. And secondly, we'll be looking at developing a publishable paper for an international audience. So this is about international publishing, not necessarily domestic, although it's also appropriate for domestic, but mainly looking at international. Then, how do we choose the right journal? We'll look at submission and editorial decisions. So many of you, your questions, right? How do I mentally prepare for the rejection that may be coming, right? How long should I wait after I get the review? And other questions about revision. So we'll be looking at that as well. And then actually, Montana Sensei is going to be talking about AI. I think we have somebody else here perhaps? Yeah? Hi, come on in. Yeah, welcome, come on in. Okay, and I'm just going to continue here. Montana will be talking about using AI effectively, and then we'll be wrapping it up with some lessons from published research, and then finally is looking at your next publication steps. So we'll be doing activities today. I'll be giving some lectures, but honestly, I don't like to lecture too much, because after about 10 minutes, I get tired of my own voice, right? And if I'm tired of my voice, maybe you will be too. So I'll be giving you a chance to talk quite a lot by doing different activities today. So here is our main question. Okay, Jeff, in a big voice, can you please read this? Jeff, are you with me? Yeah, can you read this question?
How do we move from I have done research to I have a focused paper and international journal might be published?
Exactly. That's our main question today, right? And I think that's one big reason why you're here, right? You want to have an idea that you've done from research, and then you want to put this into a journal. So that's one of our challenges. So let's begin with a little question here, right? What are some of the steps between having a research idea and then publishing an international journal article? There's many of them, and I'm going to invite you to talk with your neighbor beside you, or maybe in a group of 3 in the back over there, about your ideas, okay? 30 seconds, go. What are your ideas? do want to participate with somebody, that's okay. I'll be moving them around. Okay, getting your attention? All right, so let me get some of your ideas. One idea. Tay, what's one idea that you have?
Steps in between. Find, like, after you have an idea, she suggested we find a journal first and look at the scopes.
Yeah, that's one idea for sure. Yep. Shalita, what's one idea? Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, do you have an idea?
Well, Ajahn Ankana told us about reading before doing anything else. So you have the idea that you can find research stuff. Yeah, I think that is something you need to do.
Okay, so there's a lot of ideas, and you probably have many others as well, right? But obviously, these are some of them, right, guys? You know, how many of you mentioned writing? Put up your hands. Yep, for sure. We got to write, people. How many of you mentioned getting feedback? Yeah? Okay. Now, you also mentioned about making a submission, but after the submission, how many of you mentioned about rejection? Okay. Revision? Yeah. Resubmission? Yeah, and other things as well. So there's many, many different things in the process here that we have to be aware of, right? So it's not just a simple, you know, do this and then that. There's many, many different steps that we have to look at. So what I like to say is this, right? Research is not the same as a publishable paper, right? And one common PhD program is trying to say too much, right? And I'm not trying to be like cruel, but we learn that in our introductions, right? Teachers especially, we love to talk, right? But the key is to narrow things down. So we look at things like this, right? Oh, more variables, more theory, more research questions or hypothesis. That does not automatically make a stronger paper, right? So a journal article, it needs to be a tight, coherent story, right? That's the key. Make it tight, make it coherent, clear. That's the key thing. Because the thesis is huge, right? And if we're trying to put everything into the pot, sometimes the pot is too full and we can't cook appropriately, right? So we start out with a problem, right? Then we look at a gap, a clear gap. We have a focused question. We've got evidence. We've got contribution. So this is typically one way to look at the process. So here, I'm going to give you an opportunity to look at this, okay? And again, this is not easy to do, but I'm going to invite you to think about your research, okay, or your idea. And even if you don't know perfectly, that's okay, right? If you just have a kind of idea right now, that's okay. If you have a pretty clear idea, that's great. But what I'm going to invite you to do is to think about what are you investigating, okay? And then among who or what are you doing this? And then what are you trying to understand, okay? And then your partner is going to be asking you questions. So for example, I'm going to give you my own example. I'm investigating intercultural behavioral intent, or the desire to interact with people from other cultures among Japanese university students. I want to understand what are the variables that have an impact on their intercultural behavioral intent, such as psychological variables, or maybe attitudinal variables, or others. And I want to understand the connection between intent and actual behavior. So that's what I am looking at. Now, you guys are my partner, right? And then you would ask me questions, right? For example, everybody? Yeah, why? You know, who cares? Why is this, you know, valuable? Or the gap, right? So what gap am I trying to fill? Or what about this one? Exactly, right? And? Okay, and maybe other questions that you have. And then later, you know, you could rewrite your sentence. So I want to give you about a minute or so to fill in these points here as best as you can, okay? So you need your computer or pen or paper. Just take a minute to prepare, and then after you will share, okay? Go ahead. Prepare your idea here. And if you need help, put up your hand and we can help you. Okay, you're going to notice Dondan doesn't have a partner, so if you could join her, that would be useful. Is that okay? Okay, you'll be sitting on the left, so you're actually going to be going first. Yeah, that'll have her as a model. Okay, once again, if it's not perfect, that's okay. Just try to get as much information as you can. What are you investigating, or do you want to investigate? What group or what situation? Maybe university students, maybe high school students, maybe, you know, Thai people in general, whatever it is. And what do you want to find out? What do you want to understand? Yeah, you'll notice I'm making you work today, right? I thought we were just going to come and he was going to talk. Yeah. Okay, and if it's not perfect, everybody, that's okay. It's okay not to be perfect. Okay, that's about as much time as I can give you. So, left partners, if you're sitting on that side close to the window, so for example, Jeff, Anton, Chalita, Parn, and Montana, you are going to begin and you are going to share with your partner your answer as best as you can with this. Then, your partner on the right is going to be curious and ask you questions. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this. And after 2 minutes, we're going to switch. And I'm going to time you. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Away you go. Okay, pause. I know we're going fast. But we're going to switch now. So now you're going to reverse. Ready? You got 2 minutes. 1, 2, 3, start. Go. Okay. So let me get your attention. This is great. You've got a lot to say. You have many things to say. And you're very active, especially Montana in the back corner. Yeah? She's so active, she's not even listening. Yes, my daifan, right? Yeah. Thank you. All right. So this is actually, it's very, very useful because having the ability to be able to very simply, boom, what am I looking at, right? Because if you don't know, how are you going to write so somebody else can read it and understand it? This is absolutely critical, right? And I think a lot of people, if you tell them, oh, I'm doing a PhD, really? So first of all, some people might say, are you seeing a psychologist? Because it really can be stressful. But they might also ask you, well, what are you looking at? What are you trying to understand? Well, game over, right? You want to be able to, boom, get it out and keep it simple. So one thing you can do later is maybe rewrite your sentence, right? Make a version 2 to make it as clear and focused as possible later on so that you can simply explain it to anybody, right? Whether they're in your field or outside of your field. That's a key thing. And today, maybe during lunch, I want you, this is your homework, okay? I'm giving you homework. I'm a teacher, you're students, this is a school, gotta give you homework, right? Tell 2 other people in this room, anybody, okay? 2 other people in this room, what are you investigating and among who, and in order to understand what? Take your time, okay? So that's one thing that you wanna do. So, now I'm gonna get into my publication journal. Is it okay? Are we good? Yeah, there's a lot of energy in this room, I notice. Yeah, a lot of moving parts. I'm used to Japanese just sitting very quietly, yeah? We got the noise, we got the people, and that's all okay. This is my journey, right? When you look at this, what do you think? Anybody? Yeah, it's messy. It's definitely messy. Any other words?
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Art.
Interesting. Yeah? Yeah?
A winding road.
Ah, a winding road. Yes, like the Beatles, a long and winding road. Yeah? Anybody else?
I think most people would have similar experience.
Yeah, people can identify with this, right? So the key is it's not linear, right? From A to B only. You might be going in many directions, maybe backwards, maybe in several different directions. So basically, my story, I think of a PhD basically at any stage as my current best shot. In other words, I'm doing the best I can in each moment, right? It's the best that I can do. And so we start out with some kind of, idea, and then it starts to take shape, obviously. And then hopefully by the end, we have some kind of finished project, right? That we can then present and share to other people, So it's a process. And the process, as I showed you here, is not linear or simple, right? And that's a very normal thing. Everybody experiences this, I believe, right? Now, how did my journey begin? Honestly speaking, my journey began with my students, right? Something I do in my job is I am a chaperone. I take groups of Japanese students to different countries. I'm from Canada, so I've taken students to Canada, America, Thailand many times, Vietnam, Korea, and some other places. So when I take my students overseas, I often get them to write reflections, right? What did you experience? What was that like? And I want to show you two examples, and these help to make me think about what do I want to do for my PhD, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So please just quickly read these. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, anybody still reading? Yeah, okay. Okay, so you can see here, right? Obviously, there's some challenges, right, with intercultural aspects, and I wanted to understand more deeply my students' intercultural, competence, their ability to communicate interculturally with other people. That became the very general beginning of my journey, right? So it was my students and their perspectives that helped me to think, intercultural learning is interesting for me, and that's one reason why I wanted to get into it. Secondly is psychology, right? Human psychology is very interesting to me, so I got into the psychology area for my PhD to understand intercultural communication more deeply. So the gap, I started reading literature, and the gap that I noticed is that there's many studies that are cross-sectional, right? So they might analyze maybe like before study abroad and maybe after study abroad, just very, very simply. But there weren't many that looked at it from a longitudinal perspective, like pre, post, and maybe 6 months or 1 year later to follow up. It was just very simplistic. Or qualitative studies, right, on intercultural communication competence. So I studied abroad and it changed my life, That's very common, but you have to analyze that, how specifically. So qualitative, I thought, was not enough, right? We needed quantitative as well. And as I said, there were a lack of longitudinal short-term study abroad. That's STSA, short-term study abroad, analyzing the causal mechanisms of intercultural communication competence. So basically, I came up with the idea of looking at personality factors, and I did it within what's called a theory of planned behavior model. I'll briefly talk about that later. And then there's intent, like I said, I want to know their intentionality, and then behavior. So this became very complex, right, over time. How did I do this? Well, again, I started looking at gaps, right? So if you look at these, for example, these are examples of gaps, and this is what we need to focus on, right? You've got A, B, C, and D, and I'm going to ask you to rank, right? What do you think is the strongest? What do you think is the weakest, and why, right? And if you have time, what is wrong with just saying, oh, there's few studies that have investigated this in Thailand? Why is that a problem when you're looking at a gap in research? So this is what we need to do as researchers. We have an idea, but we have to find a gap, right? We need to contribute, and that's a key. But some things are good, they contribute, but some things are not. So take a minute or so and tell your partner, which do you think is strongest and which do you think is weakest from A, B, C, and D? Okay, go. What do you think? Okay, folks. So let me ask you, what do you think is the strongest? Okay, put up your hand. A, B, C, D. Okay, I would agree with you. I think D is actually the strongest, right? And what about the weakest, right? So A, B, C, or D? Okay, many of you put up A, and that's definitely true. Honestly speaking, I also think that C is pretty weak. Why? There's no theory. What's the theory that's connected to this, right? So it's just putting a bunch of variables together, but okay, but what's the theory that connects? What are you trying to explore? You know, the gap is not as clear in that sense, right? So that's very, very useful. And for this one, few studies have investigated this in Thailand. You gotta say more than that. So what? What theory are you exploring? What is missing that hasn't been examined already? Just because it hasn't been done in this culture doesn't make it a good research project, right? So, you know, simply, that's a key thing to look at, you know, knowing your gap. Now, in my case, this is what I came up with for my research study. And this is a mixed method study using sequential exploratory approach. So it's mixed methods, first looking at the qualitative part, and then the quantitative, and then interpreting it together. So for those of you that might be new, Cresswell, right? If you Google Cresswell, he is great as far as things like designing your research, right? This is not a talk about designing research. I think Ajar and Fawn has probably talked with you about this or will. But this is important for you to understand later. And this became clear not in the beginning of my journey, okay? I did not start my PhD knowing that I would do this kind of approach. It just kind of emerged and happened, you know? So that's a key to remember as well. If you don't have a clear overall design right now, it's good to think of one, but it might change, and that's important to know. Okay, so very briefly, I'll get into some of the studies that I did, and then we'll start talking about like reviewers and submitting to journals and stuff like that. This was the first one that I did. It was a qualitative study, and I did this with one of my colleagues, okay? So one thing that helped me, everybody, is I'm working at a university in Japan, and I have to apply for budget money for research, right? So by writing budget applications, I could use some of that writing in my PhD. It gave me a very clear focus. So that really, really helped me in my PhD. And you can see here, my colleague, his name is Richard Miles, he and I were collaborators on the budget. So he already has his PhD. Okay? That's another good tip for you. If you work or collaborate on an article with somebody who is already a graduate with a PhD, they can help you, you know? He and I had many conversations. We wrote many drafts of our paper. We discussed it together, and he became a teacher to me, and I became a teacher to him as well. And part of our application became the article, and that was really useful. Now, look over here, the article history. It was received in February of 2021, and within a year, it was accepted. So this went through 2 revisions from the editor that gave it to us, and then we were able to get this published within 1 year, right? This is a fairly high-level journal. It's the Journal of International and Intercultural Communication. That is an important thing to keep in mind, okay? So this is the question that we had. And this is the gap that we came up with over here before study abroad. This is our sample size. It was qualitative. And we found that there were different individual and collective or group perspectives. And people either had a very proactive or passive perspective. So from this gave me ideas for doing a quantitative study, right? This suggested variables that I could use, right? And over here, right, the challenge was making sense of all the data. So you get so much data, but what's the story you want to tell? That was one of my biggest challenges in doing this. We need to move beyond just describing student perceptions, right? What is the core? You know, what's the message? What are the themes that you need to look at? So we identified patterns, and the publication lesson is a qualitative study still needs a sharply articulated contribution. So you take all of this data, you've got to narrow it down, and then you need to use that to write your article. So that's what I learned from this step. This suggested our second step, okay? So this is published in the Journal of Virtual Exchange. There's no information about how long it took. It took about maybe 6 months. So we submitted, revised 1 or 2 times, and then it got published. So that was about 6 months. And this was a quantitative and qualitative study together, right? So one thing that happened in the previous one was we noticed attitudes, self-efficacy or your own ability, and other factors were important, but especially attitudes for students. So we explored intercultural attitudes, right? Originally, we were going to go to Arizona State University, right? How many of you have been to Arizona? Yes. Yes. Arjar and Fawn, sorry, you did your PhD in Arizona? Ah, nice. So you're a neighbor of ASU, right? Yeah, in Tempe, right? Yeah, Jasmine, sorry? Once. Yeah, did you like it? Oh, the casino. That's, yeah.
My husband wants me to see inside.
I hope you made some money. Yeah, it's a good place to escape the dry heat. You know, their heat is very dry. But anyway, if you look here, this is called Palm Walkway, very beautiful. It's sustainable. That's the Sun Devil. It's a really, really nice place. However, we couldn't go because this is about 4 or 5 years ago. What happened? COVID. So this killed my plan. I wrote a great proposal. We're going to send them to study abroad, and then, we can't do this. What am I going to do? You know? So we did an online program, and I could use that data to write the article, right? So basically, the question here was, can a virtual or online study abroad program increase their global-minded attitudes, right? Not in person, but online. So I had to change my research. You might also have to do that, right? There was little research on this through virtual study abroad, so there was a good gap, right? Good opportunity. You can see the method here, and the finding is that it increased, right? But it was only pre and post mainly, right? There was also post 6 months later to look at that, but it faded, you know? So basically, that was the challenge. Now, the plan was to do physical study abroad. COVID said, no way, it's not gonna happen. So this had to move online, and this created a new research opportunity. So this is important. Sometimes unexpected circumstances can change your research, but not destroy it, you know? So it's not the end of the world. Maybe you want 200 samples, but you can only get 50, right? Maybe then you have to shift from parametric to non-parametric research or something like that. So the last one, okay, this is the beast, okay? This is my last publication. This is from IJIR. This is a Q1 journal, right? What helped me to publish? I told some of you before, my Chinese gurus who are masters of statistics. There were many things I did not understand, but my collaborators, who were also PhD students, they helped me. We collaborated together. I was still the main author. Of course, my advisor was listed here as well, but this became the final end game of the study, okay? So, we wanted to look at what leads to engage interculturally during and after short-term study abroad. So we could finally go physically to Arizona, right, after COVID. The framework was called TPB. There were 155 students. It was a good sample, pre, post, and post-post. We looked at these different aspects. I'm not going to talk about the detail. You can read it if you want, right? But this was important. And sorry, we looked at a lot of different variables, 3 time points, very complex model. But the challenge was avoid letting the statistics become the story. There were many statistics, okay? Repeated measures, we did mediation, we did structural equation modeling, many, many things. And we had to find out, what is the story, right? So that's a key question for you. What is the story of your study without mentioning all the statistical data, right? That's a key. So you have to be able to still tell the story. TPB gave us a framework. We found everything was not significant, but the key lesson was complex models still need a simple research story, right? So that's the key. We have to always come back to the story, right? Because it can get very, very complex. If you read this paper, you can see how complex it actually is. This is the theory we used. You'll notice that many of the publications rose significantly, so it's a very well-known theory in the area, but it wasn't applied in this way. So that was new for us, and you can see how complex this is, right? Intention, behavior, mediators, and we also had psychological variables before this. So it was very, very complex. And I'm not going to talk about it because I want to move on, right? But you can read about it and you can find out later if you wish, okay? That's our causal model. Again, very, very complex, right? Okay, last study, look very carefully. Do you notice any of the names up here? Yes. Yes. Montana. And Ajarn Fulpun, Prapon. How many of you know Prapon? Prapon. She's in the Japanese area. So our students from Nanzan, they come and they mix with students in her department, right? So she collaborated on this as well. This was a final study that we did. But look very carefully. Look at the article history. It was received in August of 2022. It was accepted in 2025. So I want to ask you, what are some possible reasons why did it take about 2.5 years to publish this? Tell your partner, what do you think? Why? Okay, ready? Okay, Ton, what's one reason maybe? Why did it take so long to publish maybe?
I think because the reviewer needs to review a lot of paper and they have like a queue.
Yeah.
So they need to review this guy first.
Yep.
And that guy and that guy.
Yep.
And
Yep.
there's a chance that after they review your paper, it just doesn't click.
Yeah.
So you need to resubmit somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And you're wasting the time entirely for the first submission.
Yeah, so there could be a queue, for example, right? Many things they have to do, and sometimes it takes time to get a reviewer, right? Honestly speaking, I get emails almost every single day asking me to review something else because they found my email, on some of my publications, and they'll write, "Oh, dear Dr. Deacon, due to your wonderful whatever," and I don't think it's wonderful, but they say that, "Oh, we would like to ask you to please review for this journal or something." Every day, almost, I get this. They find your email. So this is one advice, okay? If you put your email on here, be expected. If it's a top journal, they're going to contact you. They're going to hunt you down as a reviewer. They're going to ask you to join conferences, mostly predatory. Many email. I just ignore everything now. I used to reply, "Oh, I'm very sorry, but I'm very busy, blah, blah, blah." Now I just ignore it completely, because otherwise they'll just keep attacking you. So that will happen. Okay, anybody else? Another reason why it took so long? Montana's fault.
What?
No, sorry. Okay, one reason why was our initial sample size was only 8. It was a very small one, and they said, "We like what you wrote, but the sample size is too small. Can you get a bigger sample size?" So we had to come back the next year when we had more participants to add, and it became a non-parametric study for the quantitative side, but because the sample size was small, that was 1 year waiting before we could get enough, right? Yes, that was one reason. They liked it, but they just said, "Your sample size is just too small. Can you get more?" So they gave us a chance, and they said, "Yes, do it again, and then give it to us when you have more sample," okay? That was one big reason why. And then it just took some revision of the manuscript, right? So there could be many reasons why it takes time. Do you want to wait 2.5 years? You're a PhD student. Is that okay for you? No. So if you submit to a higher level journal, be prepared to wait. It's going to take time, possibly, unless your Ajarn has a good connection that they can put yours at the top to review or something like that. It can take a long time if you submit to a higher level journal. If it's a predatory journal or something, which I don't recommend, they might take it tomorrow and say, "Oh, it's perfect, great, we'll take it."
Some journals we need to pay too, right?
And you also have to pay as well, right? The previous one that I showed you, IJIR, that's a legitimate journal. We did pay for open access, Guess how much money it cost to publish that article? Tell your partner, guess. How much do you think? Okay, answer? It was about 300,000 yen, which is about 60,000 baht. 60,000 baht to publish in that journal. Yes. Now, I think if you live in Thailand, they give you a cheaper discount, maybe, but that was very, very expensive. I could use my research money to do that, but if you want open access, which means more people will read it, more people will cite it, in some journals, you need to be prepared to pay for it. So that's something careful to look at. When you're looking at journals to submit to, right, is it open access or not? If it's open access, do you have to pay money? If you have to pay money, you better have a big budget, you know, because if you got to pay from your pocket, you're going to be working a lot. Yeah. Yes.
And they still it.
Yes.
And change
Yeah.
the method of like calculate like for the statistic too.
Yeah.
So like it took almost 2 years
Yeah.
of collecting the data,
Yes.
revising the manuscript, and they still it.
And they still did it, and they still let it. Yeah, the editor was very kind about that. She liked it, and then she said, I'm willing to wait, but resubmit like a year later, but they still kept the original submission date as part of the article history in this journal. Yeah, yeah, but this is extraordinary. Usually it will not take this long. Within about a year, that's more reasonable. If you're fast with revision, it might go faster, but sometimes you gotta wait a long time, guys, right? So you can look, like when you look at, you know, when you're doing a literature review, look at the article and look at the article history to give you an idea of how long it takes. Many journals, when you submit, they will tell you it usually takes this long to get a decision, like either rejection or they'll give it back to you for revision. Things like that are very normal and they happen here. Yeah.
So 22 volunteers are the new participants for your...
Yes, yes, they are.
At first, how many?
There were 8. Only 8. It was a very small study, yep. And I could have turned it into just purely a qualitative study, but she said, no, it'll be better as a mixed method study, but you need more participants to do non-parametric, right? So, yeah, and you can read the article if you wish and see how we did it and stuff like that, right? But this shows you an example of challenges here, right? Okay, I'm gonna skip through that. I think I've talked enough about this already. But the main message is a small sample does not automatically prevent publication, right? If the other parts of it are good, you know? So that's a key, you know? They will maybe give you a chance, but they might ask you for more participants, right? So if we look across the 4 studies, right? What matters most in turning research into publishable papers, right? Anybody give me an idea? What are the important things to go from your research idea, maybe your PhD thesis or something, into a publishable paper? What are a couple ideas that you have? Yep. Yeah, yeah, focusing on the contribution that you can make, right? The contribution keyword. Yep, keyword there, contribution. Anybody else? The format. Absolutely. Yep. The way that you go about doing that with your format. Yep. Yep.